Good morning, everyone. We're going to give everyone a few more minutes before we get started. Good morning, Dr. Degenhart.
Good morning, Sarah.
We're going to give everybody about one more minute to log on. Okay, welcome to today's network update. Today is July 16th, and just so everybody knows, this webinar is being recorded. We're going to begin with Dr. Degenhart speaking about the ICMT webinar. Dr. Degenhart, the floor is yours. Dr. Degenhart, you're muted.
Okay, how is that?
Much better. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. And welcome everybody to this month's meeting. And so are we able to just see who all is on, who are participating today? Can we just look at the group of images of who's with us today?
Because we're in a webinar format, you can actually.
Okay.
But you can click on the participants.
At the bottom, yep, and it should be able to tell you.
Okay.
Should you be able to see that if DO-Touch.NET is the host?
Yes, he can participate.
Okay.
All right.
While you're bringing stuff up, Brian,
Hi,
I'm just gonna make a quick comment. So if everyone would put your names in the chat so that everyone else can see who's here, maybe put where you're from, and also so if you have questions as we're going through, if you'll put them in the Q&A pod, then the speaker can answer them when they're done with their presentation. If you have any technical problems, you can put those in the chat. And also, if after each presentation, we'll open up for questions and discussion. If you would like to speak live, just raise your hand, and we will promote you so that you can speak live. And if you would like, you can turn your video on so we can see your smiling faces. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm assuming my screen is not showing right now.
No, sir.
Okay. I'm not seeing. Okay, there it is. All right, how about now?
Yes, we can see that.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. So I was just curious to see from those attending just how many people have already heard about the International Consortium on Manual Therapies, or ICMT. This is an initiative that has been taken up by the A.T. Still Research Institute over the last several years. And I know we've had some communication about that to our members before. If any, so if you can give us any type of feedback under the circumstance, give us an indication of if you're already familiar with this or not, that would be great. So the International Consortium on Manual Therapies, this is an interprofessional organization of professions that are involved in providing manual therapy to patients or clients. And so in the early 2000s, the National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine pretty much created the blanket of manual therapies to as an overarching term for anyone, any group that provides places their hands on the body for purposes of some therapeutic effect. And certainly osteopathic manipulative medicine, albeit something that we consider a medicine, a component of use of the hands that requires diagnosis and then treatment. We are part of that group. And the more that we've done some work in this field, the more we recognize that there's a lot of overlap between those groups that provide manual therapy. When we place our hands on the body, it doesn't matter who we are. There's really only so many things we can do. We can push into it, we can pull it, we can twist it or stretch it. And so the consortium, through the International Consortium of Manual Therapies, is to provide a venue for practitioners and researchers to collaborate in an open-minded, supportive, and progressive, respectful, multi-professional environment to discuss ways to advance the practice and science of manual therapies. Now, under no circumstances this is intended to make everybody the same. It is something that acknowledges that we value the different cultures and disciplines within the manual therapy fields, and that they all provide some valuable perspective and skill sets. Now, if we don't find ways to better communicate between ourselves in our isolation, we'll continue to not advance or develop our skills very well. And so our vision is to advance the knowledge of manual therapy and the quality of care practitioners provide, which will be then hastened through interprofessional engagement, understanding and communication about practice, educational principles, research designs, outcomes that are all related to manual therapy disciplines. So one way to look at it is that we all cook, but how we might, cook our hamburgers may be different from one person to another. And we may have groups of people that have particular styles of how they do their cooking. It doesn't mean that we all need to be in isolation from one another, or that if we start talking with one another, that we're all going to be doing the same thing. But hopefully it will all help us to advance the work that we do. And so for the past year, over a year, a group of people from representing 5 different professions, so the osteopathic profession, chiropractic profession, physical therapy, massage therapy, and structural integration, also known as rolfing, have been participating at least twice a month in various forms of meetings to build a framework that we think is going to lay a foundation for ongoing collaboration and advancement of both patient care and science within the field of manual therapies. The conference will be held in May 6th through 8th in Arizona at the University of Arizona at their medical school there in Phoenix. It is being held there because they have a lot of labs that allow for small group activities that are all interconnected between the groups, and which will allow for all attendees to actively participate versus passively just listening to a set of speakers. We will have keynote speakers. One is Helene Langevin, who is the Center Director for the National Institutes of Complementary and Integrative Health, as well as our PhD, MD, leading researcher in the field of pain, Lars Niels Lars Graven Nielsen, who is from the University of Denmark in Aalborg, and he has over 900 publications in regards to the musculoskeletal system pain, and a lot of them have to do directly with kind of a manual medicine. So they are our keynote speakers. So we'll be getting state-of-the-art perspectives, and then we will head into a lot of smaller group activities to advance our understanding and to promote discussion. In preparation for that, we are going to be holding a, So just to give just a little bit more feedback of what's going to happen at this meeting and what we've been doing over the past year with these working groups, is that we have 3 topics that we're focusing on and generating the foundation for this consortium. One is to be able to develop a way for us to communicate between our professions. We've all developed our own nomenclature and names, and so we've been working hard to identify what terms relate across the professions, kind of developing a Rosetta Stone for the manual therapy field. And then we are also looking at the physiologic theories or the mechanisms of actions that we as clinicians think that we're doing when we are doing our work. And we have another group that are actually looking at the literature to get an assessment of the current evidence for the various mechanisms that are being researched for this field. And so those 3 topic areas are going to be the areas that are going to be presented and discussed at this meeting. We are going to, though, hold a webinar in October of 2021 to give people who are curious about what is going on an opportunity to get more details about the topics and the outcomes that are being derived, as well as a way for people to start getting involved if they are interested. This is a free program. It will be 2 hours in duration, and it will give everyone a good idea to have a better understanding about what the conference is going to look like, what the information is going to contain. Now, at the conference, because we're holding it at the University of Arizona, we will only be able to host 300 people on site. And so we have limited number of attendees that can be on site, but we will also be having an online way of people participating to the program as well. So we hope to engage throughout the world people that perform manual therapies in many different forms to be able to participate. So with that, I'd like to open up a little time for any questions or discussion.
If anybody has any questions, we can, if you raise your hand, we will unmute you.
Hi, I'm Hallie Robbins here. Very encouraged by the progress. Are there ways that we can sign up now for October and May in order to be better informed ourselves and to start with the participatory startup?
Good question, Hallie. Thank you. So we are hoping in the very near future that registration for both of those programs will be live. Jeff, we had at one point in time talked about, I don't know, having a list of people that we know were interested and that we would inform them ahead of time that these things were happening. Is that true?
That is. The fastest and easiest way for anyone to join onto the list to know what's going on, go to the website icmtconference.org. There is a lot of information there. As we bring parts of it live, you'll be able to just join right up and register, and follow us on social media because we are posting that information and updates there. We're not doing an email list because the GDPR lawyer said we couldn't.
Dr. Dagenhart, we have one more question from Dr. Devine.
Yeah, this is Bill. I'm one of the principal speakers on FIM, the Federation International Manual Medicine Conference in Europe. It's, of course, a webinar series, and that is on October 30th. So I'll try to attend it, but I just wanted to let you know that FIM is going on at the same weekend. That's all I wanted to comment on.
Yeah, thank you for letting us be aware of that. Certainly we are hoping that, you know, we might be able to inform members of FIM about this consortium and so forth. And so can we reach out to you to help us understand how to make those connections when registration goes live and for people to be informed about this?
Yeah, certainly. Dr. Kuchera and Fossum and myself are involved with that conference.
Okay, great. And the webinar will be recorded and will be given, and people who register for the conference will be given access to the webinar as a way to help them kind of prepare for the conference. This is an active, all attendees we're hoping that they actively participate in the conference. So there is, some preliminary things that people are going to, want to, look at ahead of time so that they understand, the work that's been done by the planning committee and so forth in preparation for the conference. Okay, thank you all. If there's any other questions that you might have, certainly feel free to reach out to me regarding them.
And if you didn't catch the website that Jeff was talking about earlier, it's in our chat box if you want that. Okay, so now we're going to turn it over to Jane Johnson, who's going to give us some information about Osprey.
I know, I'm muted. Sorry about that. Okay, so I know we've been talking about Osprey a lot, and we're working towards getting that going as soon as possible to do beta testing. For those of you who may or may not remember what we've talked about with Osprey, so this is kind of a sketch of an outline of what we'll be doing. Osprey stands for Osteopathic Manipulative Treatment, Effectiveness and Safety Patient Registry. And so we will be collecting data on whatever patients will participate who are receiving OMT. We'll collect some background information, and then the day before their OMT, we will collect some baseline information about their problem severity, their what we're calling a 6-week symptom profile, which is baseline for some symptoms that could potentially occur after OMT as side effects. And so we need to see what level of severity of these symptoms they have before they get OMT to determine whether they are side effects or not. And then we'll collect data about their quality of life. And then after their treatment, we'll collect follow-up data about those same issues. What I'd like to show you today is we're going to take this baseline data and develop a report that the patient could bring to you as their clinician when they come in for their appointment, that will help you see what their status is before they get treatment for these patient-reported outcomes. And so we've made a mock-up of this report and are hoping to get some feedback on it to help us make it better. So this is the first part of the report, which is a summary of, as you can see, the typical severity of the chief complaints that that the patients reported to us in the patient registry. And so this particular patient had, some pain in various parts of their body, and tiredness or fatigue. And these are the things these are the reasons that they decided to set up an appointment with Dr. Degenhart. So we have the severity scale. I have as I said, this is a mock-up, so this is a draft. This should say very severe here. But we have what their severity was in the last 24 hours and what it was in the last week. So there's that information, and then also information from that 6-week symptom profile. And this, once again, is a severity scale. And so this person reported that they'd had, within the last 6 weeks, they had experienced these, out of this list of symptoms that we gave them, they had experienced these symptoms. And here's the severity that they had. So, for instance, this person had no dizziness, lightheadedness, or vertigo in the last 24 hours, but they'd had mild within the last week, typically. And this is what we call typical severity. Okay. And so you could see this information to see what kind of things, other than the reasons they're coming for OMT, what kind of issues they're thinking about and experiencing. And then finally, we have this quality of life report. And this is, this person has selected, because they reported they had pain, they get this scale about pain interfering with their daily activities, but they also are concerned with problems sleeping, their stress level, and tiredness and fatigue. I haven't figured out how to get this properly color coded yet. I can do it with my highlighters on paper, but so this section from this score down is normal. So it would be like colored green. This little area here is mild, and it would be colored yellow. And then this area would be the moderate severity for their quality of life, and it would be colored orange and then red up here if there were scores up here. So this person is having mild pain interference, mild sleeping problems, and moderate stress level and tiredness or fatigue. And so that's the report that we've drafted up. And as I said, I am hoping that that I can get some feedback from you about ideas you have about this report.
If anyone has any comments or questions for Jane, you can raise your hand at this time.
Or put it in the Q&A pod if you don't want to speak out. I see that Brian has said that that you can that this will help not only us researchers at DO-Touch.NET, but also clinicians to help to evaluate side effects or adverse events from the treatment.
Hi, I seem to be the brave soul who's speaking on this this webinar.
We're good.
Hi, Jane.
Hey, Holly.
Hey, so the question is, as Westry, Beck Depression Inventory, SCL9DR, et cetera, are there any number of other scales? I've been giving some thought into the best ways to integrate psychogenic or psychologically related conditions, because we all know the psychosomatic components are often central to why people do or don't improve or have predisposing factors. So I'd like to consider not just the physical, but the non-physical components that go into the pre-screening.
Right, and that's a very good point. So what we have planned what's in the works is that the patients are presented with a list of quality of life issues that they might be interested in improving. And that list includes physical functioning, pain, fatigue, sleep problems. It also includes emotional or mental health, so it includes anxiety and depression and stress. It also includes a social scale, how we make sure, how if people want to hope to improve their social ability, their ability to participate in social activities. And so we ask them to pick out their top up to three priorities of things that they want to work to improve. So it's a very good point, Hallie. Thank you.
Jane, Dr. Waslowski also has a question.
Hey, Marcus.
Hey, I'm going to let you know when it's doctor.
Yes.
Right now, you can just address me as master. That is all right for me. The master of science. No,
Very noted.
Yes.
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, so I have a comment and I have a question. The comment too, and I hope I understood the question, your question, right, is from what you just shown us. The visual, things for me to see what the patient said. When I get back blood work that has been done on the patients, sometimes some laboratories use a colored scale. So you have like red, yellow, long green portion, and then again a yellow and a red one to show if the whatever was looked at in the blood is within normal parameters or on the lower or upper edges. Maybe that would be something too, to have a quick, really quick way in seeing where they put themselves. So you have like this strip of color and just a cross or a marking. I don't know. This might be an easy visual help to easily identify where they have put themselves into. That was a comment, but I think what you've shown us is quite good as well. Just a thought that came up, and the question is, and I hope this wasn't answered before and I just forgot, is this just, what are the plans for rolling this out? Is it just US thing at first, like with the study before with side effects things, or is it going to be internationally done?
Right. So we are starting in the US, and simply because it's much easier for us to deal with the data protections regulations in the US.
Sure.
But we're gradually working on trying to develop a system that is GDPR compliant. Also in Brazil, there are some data protection regulations. It appears that the EU protection regulations, if we comply with those, a lot of the other data protection regulations are not as strict as the EU ones. So if we can comply with the EU ones, then we'll probably be in compliance with the rest. So,
Yes.
so that's a process. We do the VOD in Germany has translated the questionnaires for us. We've made some slight
Yes.
changes, so we'll have to go over that to get that redone. But they have translated almost everything for us. And so as soon as we get the GDPR going, we can get going in German at least. So all
Well,
right.
that's very nice to hear. I mean, you obviously looked into the data protection issues most, but what comes to mind when I hear this, and a usual problem that usually occurs is that if you transfer data from Europe to the US, it's not considered to be safe because like, you know, it's stored on servers in the United States, and then that's mostly the part when it becomes unsafe or an issue. So maybe it would be a help to store the data locally on servers that are placed in the European Union, and then take the de-identified, I mean, it should be de-identified in the first place, right? But take the real de-identified data where there is no clue on who did or what person that was, maybe take that. Maybe just a thought again that came up. I mean, you know better your way around about data stuff now, but that just came up.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate it.
Jane, would you like to answer the question that's in the Q&A?
Yeah, I'll just answer. So Sandy asked real quickly how involved is the questionnaire, and I think it's about 5 minutes, but that's going to be part of our beta testing. We will record how long it takes patients to fill it out, and getting patients feedback on whether they thought it was too long or not. So we'll be doing beta testing on the system. Okay.
All right, thank you, Jane. All right, we're going to jump back to Dr. Dagenhart, who's going to talk about the research that's being done on the prolonged symptoms of COVID-19 and OMT.
Yeah, so we have the tools to collect data in REDCap into a system that can be easily, disseminated for use. At this stage in the game, we need some people to review it to make sure the language is that it's written at a language that's a level that is appropriate for our patients, that each of the questions that have been identified based off of an evidence-based review of the literature are all pertinent for our purpose. And so if there are people that are willing to do a review to assist in evaluating the questionnaires, if you can, let us know. Once again, you can put that into the chat, and then we can work on getting us connected to do the review of the data collection forms.
Yes, Dr. Dagenhart, we've already had some attendees say that they'd be willing to do that for sure. So I'll send you that information.
All right, thank you.
Okay, now we're going to jump back to Jane, who's going to talk about some manuscripts that she's working on.
All right. So we have a lot of manuscripts in the hopper. So I wanted to give you an update on one in particular that I've been working on some of the data results section on recently. So present, there we go. All right, so this this manuscript that we're going to be talking about is based on the use and effectiveness of OMM in the clinical setting research study. And basically what we did was kind of like Osprey, only without the side effects portion. So we had patients collect data before the office visit, before they got treatment, they got their treatment, then they completed a questionnaire immediately after, and then a daily questionnaire for 7 days after, and then a 1-week follow-up questionnaire. And then we asked them to repeat it if they came back. And so the manuscript I'm currently working on is about the effectiveness of a single OMT session on patient-reported outcomes. So we have we're going to look at about the changes in chief complaint severity. So for this study, patients put together, told us what their primary problem was, the primary reason they were coming for OMT, and then up to 2 other problems. And we asked them for what was on a scale of 0 to 10, what was the average severity of that problem during the last 24 hours and the worst severity during the last 24 hours. So this is showing you the changes. The 0 is the pre-OMT, and then these are the days post-OMT. And so you can see that the biggest change is, from before to 1 day after. And then it basically plateaus. And this is for everyone, no matter what their chief complaint was, what their diagnosis was. So one of the things I've been working on recently is looking at if we go specifically to the top 25 chief complaints, what did these profiles look like? And I know this looks like a mess. It's hard to read, right? So I'm going to focus in a little bit on just the section where for the scores between 1 and 5 rather than the complete range. And in general, you see the same pattern that we saw overall, where it drops the first day and then pretty much flattens out. But there's a lot of variation depending on what the person's chief complaint was. And so if we separate out a little more, if we just look at pain problems, which are a large majority of the chief complaints, we obviously see the same pattern that we saw with everybody together, because these pain problems dominate the chief complaints. And if we look, so this green line here is headaches, and that basically mirrors the pain problems. If we look at a non-pain problem like stiffness, tightness, and tension of the neck, the pattern's about the same. The severity in general is lower, but the pattern's the same. Then if we look at sciatica, we start to see a little bit of difference here on the pattern. See, it goes down, but it keeps going down until many days later on the severity. And this is a significant drop here, a statistically significant decrease in severity for people with sciatica. And here, this yellowish line, gold line, is for people who had upper gastrointestinal problems. So, for instance, reflux, things like that. And we see a different pattern. So I think it's really important that we look at these individual chief complaints or diagnoses, and look to see if there are different patterns for different chief complaints or different diagnoses. These are various different pain and discomfort chief complaints. So, for example, we see this kind of orange one and this gray one this is low back pain, and this one's neck pain, and those have the kind of standard pattern that we saw. Foot pain, this darker blue, is slightly different. Rib cage is slightly different than the overall pattern. And then if we get to like pain of the stomach, intestines, or abdomen, this is a completely different pattern. But we're also talking about there are only 25 patients here with 49 office visits. And then up here, this is all pain or generalized or all over pain. And once again, this is a completely different pattern than the overall when we look at everybody together. So, Jeff or Sarah, I'm sorry, how much time do I have left?
We're actually out of time, Jane, but we do have a
Very good.
question. Dr. Robbins wanted to know, on that graph, what is your X and Y?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was making those as I was looking at them quickly. So the x-axis is how many days after treatment, after OMT. So 0 being the pre-treatment, and then the days post-treatment. And the y-axis is the mean typical average severity of the chief complaint. Sorry about that. I got excited about the graphs, and you know, I'm a statistician. It's just weird. I'm just weird.
All right. Thank you, Jane, so much. If there are other questions, please put them in the chat and Jane will try to answer them as we continue. So for those of you who haven't met me yet, my name is Sarah Minurad and I am the new PBRN coordinator, new as in April. So I've been here for a few months, but I haven't met all of you yet. So I just wanted to give a quick update on things that DO-Touch.NET is doing and looking forward to. So I'm going to share my screen just really quickly. Let's see this one. Okay, so a while ago, you were sent an email to update your information through REDCap. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. All right. So if you haven't updated your membership information on REDCap, I encourage you to do that because actually one of the questions that's in your information that we ask you to update is whether you would like your information shared, which is super great because patients or somebody looking for an OMT treatment can come to the DO-Touch.NET website and find this map of all of those members who have agreed to have their information set live. And you can look and see this information. So this person has agreed, this doctor has agreed to have their information here. And you can zoom in and zoom out, and anybody who's agreed to have their information shared is on this map, which is really great. So if you update your information, we can put you on this map, but there are some members who do not want their information shared. And so for those members, we also have a heat map. So these are all of our members without their contact information. You can see this on the website as well. We just wanted to share that with you, and we encourage you to update your information through RedCap so that if you want your information shared and let patients find you through here, that is available to them. Okay, and so then also we wanted to share a few updates with the website. So we have our new coordinating center team page. You can see all of our updated information and who's on our team. And our executive committee, we didn't have this page before, but we felt that it was important that members knew who was on our executive committee. So you can see all of those members and their biographies as well. And then, of course, the DO-Touch.NET purpose, mission, and values on this website or webpage as well. So the one that I really wanted to get to was the discussion forums. So all of these webinars, whether it's the network update or the educational webinar or the journal club, are all put on the discussion forum, which you can find here. And then it takes you to this webpage, and you can actually, so the video is here, and then you can actually comment and ask questions. So if you have other questions that we didn't get to during this actual webinar live, you can ask them here, and we'll answer them here. And so we would like to have some engagement with that as well. And then also, I just wanted to quickly mention that we also have Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter as well. We also have a YouTube channel. I know most of you that are on this call right now have seen the post on all of the social media, but we encourage you to share those so that we can get the word out there that DO-Touch.NET exists and have some more participation in our research. So some things coming up are the Dr. Degenhart minutes. So every webinar, we ask you guys to fill out a survey and ask some questions about what you would like to see. And so those Degenhart minutes are actually going to be addressing some of those questions that you guys put that we don't actually have the opportunity to answer live or something like that. He'll be answering those in the Degenhart minutes. And then also we're going to start doing some Zoom meetings with members who are interested. So if you're interested, please let me know. You can contact me through the DO-Touch.NET website or email or my personal email. But we're going to kind of like the journal clubs that we've been doing. We'll have you pick your topic and then we'll just have a Zoom session and you guys can answer questions about whatever it is related to OMM research that you would like to discuss. And then we'll also put that here on the discussion forum for you guys to share with all of the DO-Touch.NET members. And then also just a quick reminder that we are wrapping up some of our research and writing papers on that. And so we're going to start looking for more ideas for research. So if you have ideas for research or want to participate in the research that DO-Touch.NET is doing, please let us know because we really encourage all of you guys to participate in the research. Okay, so that was a really fast overview of what we're doing right now. And then I'm going to throw it back to Dr. Degenhart to finish us out. Dr. Degenhart, please feel free to go ahead.
Well, thank you, Sarah. I certainly want to acknowledge her and all the work that she's been accomplishing over the last 3 months. She is just doing a great job engaging membership. So if there are ever any questions or concerns, certainly reach out to her and she will make sure things that your answers are given quickly. So one of the issues that we've been trying to address is when is the best time for us to have this type of meeting. And so Sarah has sent out information, surveyed people on that. And so our plan is that as we finish up our current annual cycle, that we'll make some modifications to help make it more feasible for people to join us on this. And so I'm going to send this back now to Sarah to outline, what the survey had shown and what the plan is.
Yeah, okay. So we, as you guys know, we had that survey sent out and we reminded you guys a couple of different times, and we sent it to over 700 members of DO-Touch.NET. And with the responses given, we found that the best time was still Fridays, but the best day was still Fridays, but the best time is noon Central Daylight Time. So starting in October. So for the next couple months, it will still be 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time, but in October, it will be starting at 12 o'clock noon Central Daylight Time.
Well, thanks to everyone for joining us for this month's program. Next month is our journal club. Our primary presenter will be from France, Raphael Zagar-Parodi, and he will be doing some literature review of things related to non-physical components of osteopathic medicine to follow up on Holly's question and concern earlier. And so he's going to be reviewing some of the tools and approaches for studying mental, spiritual aspects of osteopathic manipulative medicine. So that is on store for our August journal club.
We have
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We have about 3 minutes. If anybody has any questions that they would like to ask, you can raise your hand or put them in the chat or the Q&A. Okay, it looks like Dr. Marcusi has a question. And I apologize if I mispronounced your name.
Are you muted?
Sergio. Okay.
Nothing is coming over, Sergio's. If you want to type it into the chat, that might be our best option at this time.
While we wait for that question, does anybody else have a question they would like to ask? You can raise your hand. Dr. Jean, it's good to see you too. Thank you for joining us. Okay, I don't believe that there, oh, wait. Okay, I don't believe that there are any other questions at this time. Thank you guys. Oh, Dr. Dagenhart, we have one more. Give me 1 second. Is Dr. Robbins?
There we go. Hi. Once again, I was recently on Facebook and noticed that there's a new invitation for people to report their symptoms in order to do deep data mining for all sorts of disparate conditions. Daniel Kraft, MD, is one of the principals of that new venture. I'm being contacted to do MSK healthcare through telemedicine. I'd really welcome a chance to continue this conversation in the meantime, because I'm talking with the co-founder of a new healthcare company focused on MSK healthcare on Monday. There's a lot happening outside of the osteopathic channels, and just suggesting that we continue to see how our work signifies and not to make it insular. There are lots of people who are looking at the same stuff. Let's make our work count.
Yeah, that sounds great. I would love to talk to you to get me more familiar with what you're talking about and how we as a network might be able to, learn from what is being done. So yeah, let's find a time for us to follow up on that, Hallie, okay?
Thanks lots, Brian.
Okay, and I believe that ends our session. Thank you all for attending. If you have any questions that you would like to ask that didn't get answered, please put them in the chat really quickly and we will get in touch with you. Thank you so much, everyone.